Yes, you can use your embroidery machine to quilt on a quilt. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog for Monday, January the 6th, 2020, and it's vlog number 149. Getting up there in the numbers, aren't we? So, what have I been up to? Current projects. Well, I've been doing something, or been doing some series of experiments where I'm trying to actually quilt a quilt using my embroidery part of my sewing machine. Now, you might think, well, that's pretty obvious. You can probably do that. Well, no, because quilts are pretty big, pretty heavy. So there's a lot of drawbacks to this. And I have been experimenting trying this because, one, I don't want to go to the long arm and do it there. I mean, I can do it at the long arm. It costs me about $100 for a quilt, for a queen size quilt, because it's by the hour, $30 an hour. And it usually takes me about 2.5 hours or so to do a quilt. So it usually runs me up around $100 by the time I'm done. But it's not the money, it's more or less the time. I have to book time to go over to the long armors, and then I'm there until I get it done. And it's just not as convenient. Also, I don't like the fact that I have to ask the person who runs the long arm business, for help along the way. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but still, I mean, she doesn't mind helping. She's an excellent teacher. She's very, very good at all of this. But it's just the inconvenience, I guess. So I started looking online. I do know that there are videos on YouTube that show you how to quilt using your embroidery machine. But most of those methods I saw were for like a square, not for a whole quilt. So I did some more research and I did some more experimenting with my machine. And the bottom line is, and I'm not finished the experiment yet, is that yes, I think I can quilt an entire quilt using the embroidery part of my sewing machine. So that makes life easier. Now, I did come across this and I ordered it. It's called Edge to Edge Quilting by this lady. And it basically shows you a systematic method for quilting a large quilt on your domestic sewing machine. It's actually very good. It was very expensive by the time I got it because it's an American product, and even though I got it on Amazon, I had to do it through Amazon.com. I had to do duties on this, taxes on it, the exchange rate. So this little sucker cost me about $62. Well, it could have been about $20 less, but I put a rush order on this particular thing. I wanted to get it really quick, and that cost me an additional $20. So, get rid of that. Maybe not that unreasonable. So I got it. I tried it. It works. But then I have discovered, well, not discovered. I knew it was there, but I didn't really know how to use it. A program that came with my sewing machine called AccuFill. And I watched some more videos about that, and I talked to Shirley at Ultimate Sewing about this, and I've had some success with this. Now, so far, I've only been doing it on large, what we call quilting sandwiches, which is basically just top fabric, batting, bottom fabric. There's really no, there's no patchwork or anything like that in it. And yes, I have come to the conclusion that I think I could do an entire quilt. So I'm going to start out small, and I did do one piece, and this was done before I figured out the AccuFill system, but I made this. This was a row by row. I'll move back a little bit further so you can get a whole view of it. This was what they call a row by row kind of challenge. I was going to say scrapbook. Many quilt stores during the year will have this little, it's not a competition, but you go to various stores, you collect their row by row kit, and once you get all the rows put together, you have yourself an interesting sampler quilt. This was one of them. It makes a table runner. Actually, I made it into sort of a table runner. Actually, not a table runner. This would be better as a wall hanging. But I put it together for a couple of reasons. One, I like the design. 2, I was feeling a little bored with what I had been working on, so I want something a little different. And 3, this has applique. Those bears and that moon in the background, that is all applique. And I'm trying to get better at applique. I don't think I did too bad a job on this. I'll move it up a little closer. And yeah, I kind of like the way it turned out. But if you take a look at the quilting, and I did the quilting on this purposely very dark, and I did that in my embroidery hoop, the whole thing. Now you have to rehoop it to do this, which is a bit of a pain, whereas on a long arm you don't. It's all, once you've got it on the machine, you just go. But for the sake of both cost and time, this works out pretty good. So this is basically the first small piece that I've actually done embroidery hoop quilting. You see I made a little mistake there at the top. I didn't get my spacing quite right, but it was a practice piece, so I'm not too worried about that. You might not have noticed it if I hadn't shown it to you, or maybe you would have, I don't know. So lots of potential here, and what I'm doing now is I'm making a small simple quilt that I will try this method on. And I'm eventually moving my way up to taking one of my larger quilts that I have the top finished on but I have not yet sandwiched, and I'm going to quilt the whole thing on the embroidery machine. At least that's my plan. I am documenting this, my process, as I go along, and I will be doing a video which will appear on the Idiot Quilter channel at some point. It's going to be several weeks before that happens because I have to make this other small quilt and play with it. But I am going to document the whole thing. One of the things I find about the YouTube videos that look at this procedure, they all show doing embroidery or not doing embroidery, but doing quilting in the hoop on tiny little pieces. Okay, anybody can do that. That's not hard. I want to think outside of the hoop. In other words, I want to do a whole quilt, and I would love to see a video where somebody does just that. But I have not been able to find one yet, so maybe I will be the first. I don't know. We'll see. So stay tuned, and I'll keep you updated on my progress with this experiment. Okay, so what else? Well, I had my art journaling class yesterday, and those of you who watch Stephen and Walter Live know about that. And of course, this month we missed December because of an ice storm. So we had ATC cards for 2 months, December and January. And I always like to show you what the ladies have done. And they so generously give me one. See, I don't really do the ATC cards, and you've heard me say that before because I just don't. So in December, I think I'm not sure what the theme was. Just seeing if anybody wrote the theme on it. I guess it was just that they were to design what they call an ATC coin, trading coin. And so this one is by Gina. And it's a New Year's theme, but you could use it on lots of things with the clock. Very cute. And actually, I know it doesn't show up here on the video very well, but that the clock center is translucent, and apparently she used packing tape, cut out a hole on the back of it, put packing tape over it, and then stuck in her glitter on top of that, which is kind of a neat idea. This one's by Kristen. Very modern looking. And this one would make a great addition to any card. And that's by Dana. And this one's by Pat. Nice green with that pop of the jewel on the side of it. And this is sort of a Wet and Wild, it's called, Seaside, and this is by Darla. So in anticipation of the summer, the warmer months maybe. I really love this one. This is by Caroline, and she took some old family pictures and copied them, and then she embossed it. So you can see the embossing. I think that's a really cool idea. Here's one keeping with the theme of winter by Anne. She calls it Circles of Winter. And Balance, artist trading card. This is by, okay, I think this might be Joanne's, but I'm not sure. But definitely experiment it with It looks like oxide inks, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong because I don't see a name on the back. Joanne usually puts her name on the back of her, so I'm not sure who this one's by. It might be Darla. Or no, did we do Darla? Well, anyways, I'm sorry if any of them are watching and I have not sure who did this one. But what stands out with this, and we're going to be talking about this later, she used the word balance. And you know, that could be somebody's word for the year, and I'm alluding to what I'm going to talk about a little later on in the broadcast, so stay tuned. So those were January, or December's, and these are January's. Or were those January's? And these, yeah, those must have been January's, because these ones have a Christmas theme, so this must have been December's. And so this one's by Joanne. And this one, I am not sure because it doesn't have a name on the back. Kristen's. Pat. Darla. Gina. And Gina even got fancy on the back of hers. And Anne. Got definitely shimmer here and a little 3D embellishments. So they're fun. They're going to go on my bulletin board, and I have quite a collection. I'm just looking over to the side, looking at them now, and I've had to make room on, I've already filled one bulletin board, actually two little ones, and this is a large one, and it's filling up really quick as well. So, very creative ladies. They're a lot of fun. We were talking about the class actually yesterday and how much the ladies said it, which made me feel really good, is that they love coming to the class because they feel like we're all kind of family. Because we've been together now for almost 3 years, same group, and it's a very non-judgmental, non-critical, just fun, social, creative group. And everybody helps everybody else. So it's a really nice environment, and I'm so glad that I was able to facilitate something like that for these ladies because they're a great group. Okay, so let's move on to the YouTube channel of the week. This one is actually a program that comes on the PBS stations, public broadcasting systems in the States. It's called Craft in America, and they look at all kinds of different forms of art. Craft, fine art, quilting, fabric art, all kinds of stuff. And they're full-length episodes. So each one, they have clips, but you can also get the full versions, and they usually run about an hour or 50 minutes. So it's like watching it on TV. It is the TV show, but just put up on YouTube. I find it really fascinating because you get inside the heads of artists and learn about their process, their techniques, their materials, and stuff like that. So check this out. This week's YouTube channel is called Craft in America, and this is actually a television program that comes on BPS stations, public access stations in the United States. They have clips from the show and they have full versions of the show in this site. If you're interested in finding out about various artists, various techniques, various mediums, all that kind of thing, then you're going to like this particular YouTube channel. I find it both entertaining and educational, and it's on a little bit more of a serious level. It really delves into the creative journey that many artists go through, and crafters, and that is something that I find really nice about this particular TV program, is that they consider crafts, any type of craft, an art. So if you want some inspiration, if you want some education, I suggest you check out Craft in America. So the link for that is in the show notes below. The link for Stephen and Walter Live is in the show notes below as well. And also the book of the week. So the usual stuff, you know it by rote by now. And by the way, I have a few new subscribers. Just as an aside here, everybody knows Barb Owen. She does a monthly live broadcast. She runs classes and things, and she's just excellent. That lady is so creative. And I'm not able to watch her once a month broadcast live, because it usually falls on, well, it falls on a Friday, and usually I'm busy doing something. But this Friday I had a few minutes. I was able to tune in. It just popped up on my screen that she was going live at that time. So I went in and said hello to Barb, and Barb said some very nice things about me, which I really appreciated. And she does follow me as well, which I feel flattered that she does, because Barb's a major figure in the crafting world for sure, and there's just little old me. So I really appreciated her kind comments, and from those comments I think I got about 6 new subscribers, which was great because I love new subscribers. So if you're a new subscriber, then welcome. Don't be shy, and I hope you'll join us for Stephen and Walter Live as well. Okay, so product review. Well, I've already mentioned this Edge to Edge book. This is very specialized. This is for those of you that have been quilting for a while. This is for those of you that have embroidery machines as well. So I don't think I need to say anything more about that. But one thing I do want to show you, this is not something I bought. It was gifted to me by Joanne from my art journaling group. And she remembered that I had mentioned some time ago that I would really like to make a Grimwald. What's a Grimwald, you may ask? Basically, it's a witch's spell book. Of course, I'm not getting into black magic or anything like that. I'm not Wiccan. Just that these are kind of cool. If you go onto YouTube, do a search for Grimwalds, it's just another form of album making or journal making, but they're kind of fun because they're whimsical. You can put all kinds of fantastic things in it, and you can put in fake spells and things like that. Well, she went to a charity shop called Missions for Bibles, and she found this and gave it to me. It's called Wizardology, the Book of Secrets of Merlin. And basically she gave this to me as inspiration. She said you could take it and alter it. I don't think I'm going to alter it because I've been looking through it and it's a cool book. But what I really like about it, and she pointed this out to me, is that some of the pages in this book are interactive. Like this one, it's hard to hold this up. There's a little envelope here with a little something stuck in it. There was one page in here that spun or something as well. But you know, I love the pictures and things, and what I might do, I don't want to destroy this book. It's too pretty. Oh, there's another interactive element there, but I'm going to use it as inspiration. I'm going to use it to give me ideas for making my own Grimwald, and I might copy some of these pages out of this and cut them up and use them as background or just for the images alone. Like there's a fantastic image as well. We'll see. But I really appreciated that she thought of me when she saw this and got it for me. And she got it, you know, dirt cheap. She loved the cover, and actually I do too. But I don't want to destroy that cover. So as I said, I'll use it as inspiration. You know, put my own spin on my own Grimwald. When will I get this done, you may ask? I have no idea. But I'm thinking this might become my next series. After I'm finished the iCraft kits that I'm working on now, and I have been working on for the last year, we're almost to the last one, then maybe I will start a series as I work on my Grimwald. I got to do a little planning for that. I got to locate a few things that I want to use in it and stuff like that, and go from there. And just while I'm speaking about works in process, how I do, you know, the iCraft thing. Well, I know that Heartfelt Creations has been around for a long time. I have many of their flip and fold kits and things like that. I have done some of their pre-made album forms and stuff like that in the past. They are very confusing because they don't give you any instructions. And they don't really have that many videos that show you things clearly how to put them together. So you're kind of left to your own devices. Although somebody wrote to me the other day, had seen one of my older videos where I was actually showing how I did the Heartfelt albums, and thanked me for showing that, because she said if she wanted to learn it, she'd have to take a 2-hour class with Heartfelt and pay for that, which I thought was, on the one hand, that's good marketing. On the other hand, that's bad PR, I think. You know, I find Heartfelt is a little snotty. I think they've been resting on their laurels for too long, and I don't know how popular they still are. I mean, they're beautiful, when you finish them. And especially if you like flowers, because everything's got a flower theme to it. And I'm not cutting that up. I like them too. But I haven't done any of those for quite a long time, and I have quite a collection of them, and so I was thinking maybe I'll start doing a series with those, except I'll put my own spin on it. I may not necessarily do it the way they intended it to be done. I might do it in a little different way, so we'll see. Okay, so that brings us to the book of the week, and the book of the week is actually a book about a method. I've dabbled in this. I haven't done anything in this in a long time. Every time that I talk about one of the books from my stash, it reminds me of a technique I've tried but I haven't done anything with for a long time, and I want to try it again. I don't know about you, but I just find there are so many things I want to do, it almost puts me at a standstill. I don't know what to start first. I need to do something about that. But anyways, this technique is called Encaustic, and it's basically painting with melted wax. It's a little bit more than that. In this book, you can see is extremely detailed about how to do this. Is it a hard process? No, it is not. This book might seem a bit intimidating because it is a large book, but it tells you everything you need to know about this technique, this encaustic. And in fact, it's very funny because they listed here as encaustic painting techniques by Patricia, Baldwin. I'm going to say her last name. I'm going to butcher it. Seggebruch, I guess. And it says there's a subtitle, The Whole Ball of Wax. Encaustic products are not bad price-wise. The wax can be a little bit pricey that you get. You do need some very specialized equipment as well, but this book explains it all to you. And it's kind of different, it's kind of fun, and it is very, very adaptable to mixed media as well. So if you're interested in this kind of thing and want to explore this further, there's lots of videos on YouTube about encaustics. I really highly recommend this book. Now, what I paid for this book was $30.50 Canadian. I looked it up, as I always do. I found it on Amazon.ca. Unfortunately, it was not cheaper. It was more expensive, so it must be becoming a rare book. $41.98 plus probably shipping, and I didn't find the shipping on it. So yeah, pricey investment. But as I said, if you're interested in encaustic, what I would do is search the YouTube, find some videos on it, see if you like it. Check out your local art supply store to see if they have the supplies you need, and then it might be worth investing in a book like this as a guide if you want to seriously get into encaustic work. You can create some very beautiful things with that. Okay, so speaking of rented lips today, my God, coffee. So second part of the current iCraft kit that I'm doing, which is the Flip Fold album, and I'm going to put the background papers on this one this time. So now I've come to the stage where I'm going to put on the background papers, and for this I used this particular paper pad. Try to get the glare off of here. A Graphic 45. It's called Steampunk Debutante. And these were the papers that I used for this particular one. And I think I'm going to use, since this was the Deluxe Collector's Edition, as it says here, it came with stickers and pull-aparts and things like that. And I think I may use those to embellish this particular album. But I'll show you. I've gone ahead and done the adding of all the background papers off camera because basically it's just cutting and pasting. I did use my Cricut to cut out the paper that I want to use. Now, right off the bat, one of the problems, and you'll see an alteration here to this, is that I can't use the band, the belt, that comes with the kit, because once I got the papers on it, it became too thick and they would not connect. Now, I could have cut longer pieces of paper for that, but I think I prefer securing it with a bow, as I've done here. And all I did was on the back of this, I glued down with the Gorilla Glue the bow, and on top of that I put this little piece of paper as well, just as a reinforcement. So that's all glued down so that won't come apart. And over time I think this will squish down a little bit with use. So we'll just undo the bow, and you see it's kind of spring-loaded because this paper is fairly thick on this album, which brings up another problem. If we're going to put 3D embellishments in this, well, I don't think you can. It's just not going to be able to handle it. It's too small. It is called, to be fair, a flip fold album, so I think it's more geared towards putting in pictures and things like that. But we'll see when we come to the point where we're going to do the final embellishing. But I'll just show you how this all went together. So you have your flaps here. Now you can see it's very spring-loaded. And so I did attach the papers to each part of this before I assembled the album, and that gave me a little grief at times, because if I was to do this again, I think I would use a little thicker, or not thicker, a little thinner scrapbooking paper for this, because once I got the double-sided in and on both sides, this became very heavy, and the hinges do have a tendency to crack on the paper, although I scored them fairly well so they wouldn't. Now in here you'll notice I added some washi tape because these were the hinges, and they were showing up, of course, over top of the background paper. So I thought, just for a decorative element and to reinforce these hinges, I'd put on a little bit of dark washi tape, just sort of blend in. But here it is. I did go around the edges of all of the background paper with some ink just to distress it up a little bit, because after all, this is sort of a steampunk album theme. You will notice up here the paper cracked on me and split when I folded it over. Now, if I had put the score lines on the actual pieces of cardstock before I attached them to the foundation pieces, that might not have cracked as readily, but I didn't do that, and it did. I'm not that concerned about it because I can always cover it up with washi tape or maybe some embellishment, whatever I decide to do. So you can see it all folds in here. The paper's on both sides. And at this stage, it's looking more like an album. It's kind of neat. It is tiny, as you can see, but the ribbon attached to it will hold it all together. And up to you what kind of enclosure you want to use. Just fluff out my ribbon a little bit. And as I said, you can see that already it is bowing out on the edge. So putting any 3D embellishments in this is just not going to work at all. And this is a problem I have with a lot of the albums that come from iCraft. They're kind of neat, but they do not lend themselves to three-dimensional elements very readily. They're more meant for just putting in flat pieces, and that's what I'll have to do with this one. So that's what I'll do in the next segment. I'll do the final embellishing. So you'll notice that I'm in a different location when I'm doing this segment, mainly because when I got finished everything else that I was doing, I forgot all about what I'm pissed off with this week. So I'm adding this and I will insert it somewhere into the actual vlog. So that's why the location is slightly different. So what am I pissed off at this week? And let me just do a little adjustment here. Yes, I think that's better. Okay, so lately on my travels through the land of YouTube, I have noticed that a lot of people, instead of making New Year's resolutions, have been creating a word to live by for the next year. And there's all kinds of discussion about how to pick your word and what that word means to you and all this stuff. And I say, hogwash. Okay? Picking a word and using that as your guiding principle for a whole year sounds like a really great idea on a philosophical level, but in reality, really, do we care? One example, Christopher Allen, who you've heard me mention before, his word is balance. He wants to balance his home life with his job, with his creativity, all this kind of stuff. Great idea. How do you do it? I think people put way too much energy into finding a word that's going to encapsulate their life for the next year. And just like New Year's resolutions, I don't think you can stick to it. I don't feel the need to create a word to define my life for the next year. I don't believe that I need to live up to a word, because that's what you're doing. You're creating a type of resolution, a goal for yourself. You know, you're going to be grateful. That's one of the words that comes up a lot. Grateful for the things that happen on a daily basis in your life. Well, okay. That's a positive thing. I suppose sometimes we lose sight of the fact that, you know, there are many things in our lives we should be thankful for. Many things we just take for granted. Okay, I get it. But do I need a word to remind me of these things? Because I think that's kind of artificial. Other people use these words as part of their creative being. This is the word that they're going to use for the next year to design whatever projects they're working on around that word. Okay, I can see if that word gives you some inspiration, but then isn't that pigeonholing you into something? All right, every project I do this year has to have something to do with the word excitement. I don't know, something like that. Well, what if I want to work beyond that word? No, I have to use excitement. Now, I'm being extreme. I'm sure you don't have to do that. It's more of a guiding principle. But to me, I think it's a big waste of time worrying about your word of the year. A lot of people use the word of the year as a form of self-improvement. You know, what's another word I've heard? Believe. Believe. There's another word that I've seen popping up on YouTube videos that people are going to live by. Believe what? Believe the crap that people tell us on the news? Believe false rumors? Fake news? I don't know. What's believe? What does that mean? Okay. As a journal prompt, I think it's kind of cool because you can interpret it in many ways, and I guess maybe that's why people pick that kind of word, because it can be interpreted in many different ways. But overall, and I mean, I'm going to get criticism for this, I know this, and I know I'm sounding very cynical, but basically I think picking a word for the year is a waste of time. At least it's a waste of time for me. Now, for maybe some people, this is inspiring for them. Maybe it does help them, give them direction in their life. Maybe it does help them with self-improvement. For me, I'm not going to pick a word. I'm not going to put myself in a little box and get really upset when I don't live up to what that word means to me, kind of a thing. So I don't know. I just find watching all these YouTube videos where people are picking this word of the year, and there are many of them that do this, way too many that do this. I find it kind of annoying. I don't know, just me, I guess. Sorry, but that's what's pissing me off this week. And so that takes us to events in the past week. Update on my mother, she's fine. We were over there on last Tuesday. We always go over on a Tuesday. And she was looking good. She wasn't complaining about anything. That's a rarity. So things are at normal. We're going over there tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Again, I'm going to take down her Christmas decorations. And I already showed you the little banner I made that I'm going to put up in her room. Because things always look a little bare after Christmas when you take down your decorations, you know. So I thought something bright, cheerful, that would help liven up her room. Switch out her bed runner. I'd made her a year ago a Christmas bed runner, so I'll go in with another bed runner and get that all set up. And yeah, so that's my mother. And New Year's Eve. So it seems like New Year's Eve was weeks ago, but it was only just last week. Less than a week ago. It was last Tuesday night. So we didn't do anything too exciting. We stayed home. And we were going to have like surf and turf because we had a couple of nice fillies in the freezer, and Walter was going to sous vide those, and I made some what I call Queen Anne potatoes. I don't know what the name is. I don't even know where I came up with that name, but basically they're not low fat. There's a lot of butter on them. You basically take up some potatoes, slice them up thin, pour melted butter and some spices of your choice over top of them, add a little cheese, and bake them. And yeah, not low fat, but it was New Year's Eve. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And we wanted lobster tails. And I talked about this yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live. And of course, we live in Ontario, so, you know, it's not like being on the east coast of Canada where lobster aplenty, and it's good lobster and it's fresh lobster. Here, you can get it in the grocery store. You can get live lobster. I have bought a live lobster before, but I won't do the cooking of it. They'll steam it for you at the store. I don't want to see it dying. I know it's a lobster, but no, I'd rather not. But we just wanted a couple of lobster tails. Well, not so easy to find. And when we did find some, they were what I call 2-bite lobster tails. You got 2 in a package for about $15. They were frozen, and they were teeny, itsy bitsy little things. Basically, I think 1 bite would have done it. And we figured we'd need about 4 of them. So 2 packages, that's $30 right there for these itty bitty little things. Was it worth it? No. So screw the idea about lobster tails. Okay, we just went with the turf, no surf kind of a thing. And that was fine. And then we had a couple of bottles of champagne that we sipped on during the evening. We went out and sat in the hot tub for a couple of hours and came back in and watched New Year's festivities. We thought we were tuning in to see Toronto's. They didn't broadcast it, which is very unusual. We had to watch it on YouTube. Someone was streaming it on YouTube. I thought that was really strange. When we went to the Canadian station that usually broadcasts Toronto's festivities, it took us to New York, to Times Square. Yeah, I mean, Times Square is kind of spectacular, but really? So that's what we did, and after midnight, watched all of that, kind of scanned through YouTube and saw the fireworks around the world, and I went to bed. Walter stayed up for a little bit longer, because he usually does, and that was New Year's Eve. So it was quiet, it was safe, and probably just as well. You spend a lot of money to go out someplace, you got to worry about drinking and driving and all that kind of stuff that you can't do. It's probably just a lot easier to spend it at home. And we did. Okay, so I've already mentioned that we had the art journal class, and that went over well. And so what's coming up? Well, this Saturday we will be getting up early in the morning. Well, it'll be early for Walter, it won't be that early for me, and going over to Ultimate Sewing to be first in line because it's their semi-annual open house, and that's the day you can sign up for classes for the next session. And as I've told you about this before, if you've been a regular viewer, you know what I'm going to say. You have to get there early because it's a zoo. There are all kinds of ladies in there trying to sign up for classes. It's mayhem and chaos. So we like to get there, be first in line, get in, and get out. And so that's what we'll be doing next Saturday morning. And next Sunday, we are going to have lunch over at my sister's because my first cousin is coming for a visit with his little girl. I think he's bringing his mother too. And that was, I mentioned this in another vlog a week ago. We were supposed to have done that just before New Year's, but we had another potential ice storm coming, and my cousin lives about an hour and a half away, so he didn't really want to, tempt fate on the roads. So we just rescheduled it for this Sunday coming up. So that'll be nice, catch up with family. Okay, so is there anything else? One final comment that I'd like to make, and everybody knows about this, but I'd like to say something about it because you know how much Walter and I love Australia. And we're just heartbroken right now as we see the news and see the bushfires and everything that's going on in Australia. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. And I'm hoping that I have a few subscribers from Australia. Just want you to know that our hearts go out to you. We hope that these will end very, very soon, and we hope you're safe. It's just, if you've ever doubted that there's such a thing as climate change, this really proves it. And I know a lot of people have been speaking about this issue and, basically criticizing our governments for not putting more money into it to do things about climate change. But really, is this a wake-up call here, the fires in Australia? And there's been all kinds of fires in Southern California too. This a coincidence? I don't think so. Both of those places have had uncommonly hot seasons. Australia is a warm country at this time of the year. We know, we've been there this time of the year. But even for it, this is way beyond the norm. So I feel so sick about what's going on over there, because it's a beautiful country. And this, I just hope things get under control very soon and we get past this. So as I said, our best wishes, our positive thoughts are going out to all the people in Australia, and especially to those of you that come on here in a regular way and support me as well. So we're trying to support you in your time of need. Okay, so I hope you have a good week. Stephen and Walter Live will be on this Sunday at 4 p.m., the usual time, Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.